Our second baby.
20 days into the war in Ukraine, newly released drone video shows fire damage to the apartment buildings in the southern city of Mariupol. You can see black smoke there billowing into the sky. Ukrainian officials say more than 2,500 civilians have been killed there. So far, Russia has failed to take the city on the country's southern coast. Russian forces have also been advancing on the capital, Kyiv. This video that's new today shows the aftermath of another strike on a residential building. We have extensive coverage for you of the war in Ukraine, including from Nora O'Donnell on the Ukraine border. But we're going to begin in Kyiv with Charlie D'Agata and the latest on the fighting there. Charlie, good morning to you.
Good morning. At around 5 o'clock this morning, a number of explosions rang out across the city in one of the heaviest bombardments since the invasion began. In a worrying sign, the mayor has just announced a new curfew from tonight through Thursday morning.
Overnight, the Russian military machine turned its guns on the capital itself, raining down on residential neighborhoods, igniting an apartment block into an inferno. The mayor estimates that more than half of Kyiv's population of around 3.1 million has already fled to safer regions or left the country altogether, while some have taken up semi-permanent residence deep inside the city's subway system, even sleeping out in trains. In the wooded outskirts of the city, Ukrainian soldiers have dug in, letting fellow Ukrainians and Russian forces, for that matter, know about it. But we've seen for ourselves this is no show. Every single road is barricaded and manned by troops, reservists, or volunteers. Like 32-year-old Volodymyr, an economist who lived and worked in D.C. a few years back.
It may be that you will have to fight.
Yeah, we are ready to fight. We were ready for them. They were, you know, in Ukraine, they told who comes.
Bro, yeah, I know he fucking was in D.C. Look at him. He's got the fucking tactical shades on, baby. Where did they find gas station shades in Ukraine? I guess they, I mean, it's a pretty universal, you know.
To us, we'll die here.
At a local auto repair shop, MacGyver meets Mad Max. They've ripped the weapons off ruined Russian military vehicles, and Oleg modifies them for use by Ukrainian fighters.
You must smile every time you see a new one come in.
By the way, low key, I mean, this is like, you know, if this facility blew up tomorrow, I will go as far as to say that, like, CBS Mornings has their share of responsibility. Okay, that's now a military bunker. Okay, that's just like Kharkov hideout should be safe. Okay,
because it's one less gun shooting this way and one more gun shooting that way.
In an overnight address, President Volodymyr Zelensky made an appeal directly to Russian soldiers. On behalf of the Ukrainian people, I give you a chance to survive, he said. If you surrender to our forces, we will treat you the way people are supposed to be treated, as people, decently. Despite days of...
What kind of commentary is that, bro? They're showing that civilian target, which normally would be considered a civilian target and free of shelling, is now actually not a civilian target, and there's military operations happening there. It's a munitions depot. Do you not understand that? I'm not saying it's a good thing. You're just saying that, like, that will be the reasoning for it.
Of flattening suburbs like Irpin and Bucha, including renewed shelling overnight, ground troops have yet to advance to the capital. But many here fear Kyiv awaits the same fate as places like the port city of Mariupol, which has suffered from the full fury of Russian firepower for days. Kharkiv, where Russian forces unleashed new artillery strikes in an effort to capture Ukraine's second largest city.
And breaking moments ago, word.
This is pretty funny, like actually interesting. But 3 European leaders head to the besieged Ukrainian city, where fucking Polish, Czech, and Slovenian leaders went to Kyiv to meet up with Zelensky, which I think is kind of, I mean, it's like weird. It is a little bit funny. Like the photos that you see, you're like, what the fuck are you doing? You like went into the middle of Kyiv? It's crazy.
Ministers from Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia are on their way to Kyiv right now to meet with President Zelensky in that besieged city. This is a remarkable statement of solidarity to go to somewhere like Kyiv in the
here's a
middle
picture of them.
Of a bombardment there. You'd be hard-pressed to find any example like it in history. It's akin to world leaders going to London during the Blitz. Let's talk about the current situation more with CNN military analyst and former NATO Supreme Allied.
Something Hasan would be terrified to do? Yes. That's what I'm saying. I would not do that. And part of the reason why I would not do that is also because you could literally start nuclear holocaust, dude. This is so stupid. Like, what? Why would you point to that? Why would you point to that as like me being in the wrong? Yeah, I regularly admit that, like, no, I'm not trying to fucking die, bitch. What do you mean? I haven't even finished Elden Ring yet, you know?
Commander General Wesley Clark. General, thank you so much for being with us. I want to start with the breaking news out of Kyiv. Word that they're...
Bro, the World War II analogies are getting old. First of all, people talking about fucking the Franz Duke Ferdinand are not making World War II analogies. They're making World War I analogies, dummy. And secondly, I didn't even mention World War II at all.
Doing this 2-day curfew, including daylight hours. What does that tell you about the security situation in that city right now?
It says that there are some Russian forces that have penetrated. These are assault groups that come in dismounted that the Ukrainians are working against. It also is a precautionary move to keep civilians off the streets and in shelters as the bombardment intensifies.
We've seen some new pictures, I think I could show you here on the wall here, of this bombardment on Kyiv over the last several hours. Apartment buildings.
Oh, you're talking about the CNN host. My bad.
Have been hit, on fire, ablaze right now. Devastating images. These are civilian buildings, residential apartment buildings, and it's all over the city right now. We have different strikes happening in the city. What are the Russians doing here?
Well, the Russians are basically closing in their longer range systems on the city. They don't have specific intelligence in many cases, so they're simply firing into areas where there's reported to be resistance. And those shells are hitting everywhere. The rockets are hitting everywhere. So it's really an area bombardment. If it doesn't take out the Ukrainian resistance, then the Russians...
Oh, look at that Nussy, though. Straight up. Nussy game on lock, dude. My man's Nussy goes so hard. You know he's got that gorilla grip. Sorry. Hasan thinks everyone hates him, Sag. I do. I do. It sucks, but I do feel that way. I'm constantly on the defensive. I haven't really taken a day off in a while, but I'm constantly on the defense mode because, you know, people are out here looking for fucking ways to yell at me and shit on me and shit, you know?
Figure at least it terrorizes the population. It puts more pressure on President Zelensky to come to some agreement that is essentially a surrender document. President Zelensky's not going to do this. But the Russians are in a talk, fight, talk mode. So they keep this diplomacy going in an effort to keep the pressure on and in an effort to forestall Western action by raising hopes of some kind of a settlement. But in reality, President Putin's aims haven't changed. He wants to besiege Kyiv, seize it.
By the way, Wesley Clark is a really interesting dude, and I know his son.
Put his own stooge in there to say that he's the president of Ukraine.
General Clark, what does it tell you? I've never heard of anything like this. The prime ministers of Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia on their way to
also
Kyiv
named
right
Wesley
now.
Clark. I mean, he is an interesting dude. He did run for president.
Now, a city under siege.
Yeah, it's a remarkable story, and I hope they make it in and get the information and firsthand accounts from President Zelensky they need. I think, John, what's happening is that our allies in Europe are recognizing that they simply cannot allow Ukraine to fall. And this is a really important development. It means there's going to be greater pushback, including from our European allies.
Yes, he did. He's
including greater support, military support for the government in Kyiv. That's why they would be going in. They want the firsthand reports. They want to be able to talk to their people, that they've got to take a higher level of risk to ensure that Kyiv is safe. It's very simple. The best way to defend NATO is to assist Ukraine to defeat this Russian ground attack.
All right, General Clark, stand by, if you will. I want to go to CNN's Scott McLean, who is in Lviv right now, in the western part of the country. Scott, give us the latest, particularly if you can, the situation going on in Kyiv right now with this extraordinary two-day full curfew.
I mean, I think if their leaders die in Ukraine, I don't know if NATO would declare war, possibly because they kind of fucked around and it's also not inside of like their territory. It's like outside. It's like in Ukraine, you know what I mean? Which makes this all the more interesting as a thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. So that curfew will start this evening. It will go right through Wednesday, and then people will be allowed out of their homes on Thursday. But it's difficult to believe that people would want to leave at this stage of the game anyways, unless that's to go to a shelter. So people, of course, during that curfew time are able to go to shelters. They are able to leave for emergencies. But given the situation, given the bombardment, given just how dangerous the city seems right now, this is not the first time that they've put in place one of these curfews. Obviously, there have been curfews in place at night in Kyiv. It begins at 8 p.m. Here in Lviv, the curfew begins at 10 p.m. But John, one other thing to mention, you talked about it already, this delegation coming from Europe. This includes the Prime Minister of Czech Republic, the Prime Minister of Slovenia, and the Deputy Prime Minister of Poland. As you said, it is quite remarkable. They're going there, they say, to show their support for the Ukrainians, and they're going to be announcing a broad package of assistance to help the country. It comes on the same day when European finance ministers have also announced a broad package of sanctions that they are calling historic. And what I found especially interesting about this journey is not only the timing of it, given that there has been so much shelling and the city seems so uncertain and so dangerous right now, but also the fact that they're going by train, and it appears that they haven't arrived yet. We understand they left before 9 o'clock this morning, so that's more than 3 hours ago, but that train journey takes quite some time. The trains do not run at full speed into Kyiv. They're slowed down in most areas to maybe 50 miles per hour or so tops. And so this journey is going to take a while, and so I just find it a little bit odd that they're announcing this before they've actually reached the city, it seems.
That is odd. I will say it is an extraordinary visit. I had to read it twice when I saw the bulletin cross, because when you think of it, this is a city where strikes are happening all the time. 4 residential complexes hit just over the last few hours, and now these world leaders will be there. I can't think of an historical comparison. It would be like going to London during the Blitz. Scott McLean for us on the ground in Lviv. Scott, thank you very much.
Some of the heaviest fighting has been underway on the strategically important south coast of Ukraine. Russian forces have run into fierce resistance. My colleague Chris Livesay is in that hard-hit region. Chris.
Good morning, Charlie. Russian forces are hammering Ukraine's coastal cities like here and Mykolaiv, once again the scene of overnight shelling. It's a city at the crossroads between Odessa, Ukraine's biggest port and a city that Russia desperately wants, and Mariupol, a city Russian forces have already encircled. Here in Mykolaiv, people are doing all they can to brace for and survive what Ukraine is calling Russia's war of annihilation.
The video is silent, but you can still hear the horror. The war in Mariupol alone has left more than 2,000.
Hey, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on any future videos.